Attention. Welcome to the Different Spectrums podcast. We dive into the wild world of mental health discussions. Get ready for profound talks, a sprinkle of humor and sarcasm, and a touch of colorful language. Just a quick heads up, our show reflects our individual opinions, which may not align with the standpoint of the podcast, our featured guests, or any related corporate entities. Our mission? To illuminate through laughter and satire because everyone needs a good chuckle. Chill out and don't stress over the small stuff. Legal troubles? No, thank you. Cancel culture? Please spare us. We'd rather keep this space lawsuit free. So buckle up, have a good time, and join us as we navigate the vibrant realm of mental health on the Different Spectrums podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. By using our link, you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. So, Naz, as a therapist on BetterHelp, what has your experience been like?
I've been doing it since January 2021, and it's been really fun and exciting. I've been able to reach clients all over the United States and the world. I've had good relationships. I've had folks that I've had for a couple months and a good handful where I've had for almost 2 years now. So it's magnificent. I've enjoyed my time and my clients. I love them.
Awesome. You can do it all from your phone or computer via phone call, video chat, or messaging, however you feel the most comfortable. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/DSP or choose Different Spectrums podcast during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Hey everybody, we back again.
We're back. We're live.
I'm Spencer. Of course, we have our licensed clinical therapist, Naz.
Dr. Naz, as I comb my hair.
Imaginary hair. There you go.
It's there.
Yep. When the therapist needs therapy. Remember, don't take us too seriously.
Or do. It's completely up to you.
There you go. Also, don't forget to round those likes for us. We'd really appreciate it. So, as you can see, we have a special guest today. She is a licensed psychologist who uses a blend of psychological science and fictional heroism to convey stories from different characters. She's also a writer, entertainment media consultant, and public speaker. She also co-hosts the podcast Arkham Sessions and will be at the San Diego Comic-Con hosting a panel for some of the X-Men 97 cast on July 20th through the 22nd. Please welcome Dr. Drea Letamendi to the show. Yay.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now I know why. I know why she got to go to bed. She tired as hell. Girl, don't stop working.
I know. Believe me, when I saw her resume, I was like,
too much. Yep.
I get it.
Too much.
Yep. Too much.
Gotta let something go.
This is what we call the model minority. You're the reason why black and brown folks are struggling. You know, I'm joking.
Well, it's my fault.
It all comes down to you. You're the person the white folk point at when they're like, be like her.
Hey, it's all on your shoulders. All right.
How do you think I got here?
Damn.
Just saying yes to everything.
Everything. Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, it's great having you and can't wait to start this conversation. So today we are actually doing once again X-Men 97. All right, but we're going to be doing different scenes here. Some things that we're going to be focusing on is going to be embracing adversity or your adversary, right? PTSD, fight or flight, as well as being your own worst enemy. So those are some of the things that we're going to be covering today. Naz, anything before we get into the show?
Excited to get to this. Excited for our guest. I know some of you are like, damn, we're doing this one again. Yeah, we're doing this one again, but we always want to do what the guest wants to do. Want them to be comfortable, have fun, be knowledgeable, right? And so we're like, hey, let's do it. It's going to be a good show. It was a wonderful show. We recommend if y'all didn't watch it, please go watch the show. But yeah, there's a lot of different topics that we're going to get into. I'm going to let Doc take the lead on most of them, and then I'm going to vibe off of them. So it'll be a little bit different because for folks who are like, damn, Nas talks too much. I'm gonna try to take a step back. It's not gonna happen, but I'm gonna try. I'll try.
It's me saying that, by the way.
I know. I really want to get into some of the dream and anxiety stuff in the second scene, and then also, it's got to feel good dropping someone off a ledge. Yeah. So some people got to die.
Some people just gotta die.
If there's anything you're going to take from today's episode, some people got to go.
Some people gotta go, and in case she gets canceled for that, I'm the one that poisoned her. That we can put that on me. Yeah.
Yep, you put the bad juju.
I'll put it right. I did it. All right, let's get into the show. Let's have some fun. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
Go ahead, say it. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
There you go.
There you go.
Have you
Every
ever
time.
Didn't know y'all were waiting on me for the whoop whoop.
Have you ever said whoop whoop before? Is that the first time?
It might be.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, welcome to autism. So, okay.
Welcome to the show, Autism.
Okay.
And shame. How many have suffered his gifts? How many made slaves?
Your bite is a sort of demonic infection. Once the venom reaches his heart,
Leave him. Don't play martyr.
you will not break me.
But I can fix you. Forge made his bed. Let him die in it.
All lives deserve saving, even his.
You go for help, but there is no pill for my poison. Let him die. Look the other way. Watch. Get used to it. You're not an X-Man anymore. Where did that get you? Kissing the hand that beats you?
I do not fear death.
I know. That's why you rush to play dead. You fear living. As you said to Jean, I have wondered what it would be like to be human. It is a tempting daydream.
I was so tired.
Is that why you fear your power? Sought refuge with this monotone family?
Enough. Let me out. Let me out.
Look at your family. Who you follow. I was wrong. Forge didn't rob your gifts. You had already renounced them.
I cannot breathe.
You turned your back on these paths long ago.
Lord of Chaos! Weaver of lies! I tear your thread and break your loom! Depart to the desert, demon! Depart and be gone! Mom practiced desert magic. Some of it sunk in, despite my best efforts.
Careful. Your shoulder.
I'll give it to me straight. You need a better bedside face, Doc.
Its bite is magical. Perhaps your mother's book holds an answer.
She wrote about a cacti, the midnight chala. Grows in nearby caves. Doesn't need sunlight. Its aloe is powerful magic medicine. I can show you the way.
You are too weak. Tell me where to go.
I don't have much time, Aurora. If this nastiness gets worse while you're gone, I don't want to be alone.
Then we ride together.
You had to be the bigger woman. Had to save him, be above it. Now look at you.
No. Forge destroyed you.
Yes, give me a taste. Oh, yummy. Fear poached in self-loathing. More. The high road storm. Last stop. You, pancaked by the pressure of existing. How unfair. Yes, there. Gasp. Always. Beg to be saved. Submit, and I will save you and let you live your tempting daydream.
No, you demon. Not a daydream. The executioner's neutralizer was not the only weapon tamping down my gifts. There was that lie, and I believed it.
Be warned. Be smart. Believe the lie. Deny your power. Play dead, or humanity will thunder down upon you and your kind.
You all are an echo of who I am. So let them thunder, for I am lightning! Strange to feel grateful.
Towards the demon?
What are demons but reflections of our fears and shame? Things we bury within us, hide from loved ones, even as they poison our hearts. Until we finally heal our adversary by embracing it. There, it's starting to heal.
So what now? You've been given a second chance. Should we whisk away to...
Priority for the foreseeable future must be damage control.
Oh, tall order when mutants everywhere are taken to the streets.
Riots are the language of the unheard.
Martin Luther King. But smashing windows is destruction, not communication. Normal people won't accept mutants if they feel threatened. That fear is the whole issue.
Perhaps the professor's vision for the future was too nearsighted, and begging for your tolerance was our first mistake.
Hank, no, that's not what I was saying.
But it is what you mean. That is the issue. As was your reporting outside my home while my friends were dying. Now forgive me. I dare not waste any more of your tolerance, Miss Tilby. These cases is light years ahead of ours today. How could he even obtain such access?
I don't know, but I won't let him make me any more of a monster than he already has.
Easy, boy. You want redemption? Help us get the real bad guys. What else can you tell us? Anything helps.
I'm sorry. I have nothing.
Same, sugar.
What have you done?
What we all wanted to do.
Is this who we are now?
That
That maniac killed Remy and thousands of people on Genosha. That rotten piece of scum put a good man, my man...
Terminate.
Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about our new collaborator, Toink Toys. They have a wide selection of, you guessed it, toys and other great collectibles. They have products from Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and everything pop culture. You could say they put the toy in Toink. So go check them out at toink.com and use our code Different Spectrums Podcast to get 10% off your entire order today.
Go with the scene.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome.
We back, and we're live. Just as live as my gas, because I done ate beans 4 days in a row. I told my dad, any more beans and corn, I'm gonna die. I was talking to a client today. I swear to God, I got stomach cramps while talking to a client today. I was like, "Hey, kid, you gotta go. You gotta go."
What is happening right now? All right. Anyways, like I said, Dr. Drea, welcome to the show. So we want to get to know you just a little bit. Could you tell us your journey through how'd you get to being a psychologist? How'd you get here?
That's a great question. It really is.
Thank you. You know what? Thank you so much. Weren't prompted at all.
Well, you know why it's a great question? This was not planned. I went to college in upstate New York.
Okay.
I went to Cornell University.
Name dropper.
With the plan to go into computer science.
Computer science?
Super nerdy.
Wow.
I was so into coding, and I thought, this is my jam. I'm going to be a coder. I'm going to, make stuff. I'm going to be a creator. And this was back some time ago where women, and certainly not women of color, were in this kind of science. So the first couple of years of college were rough. There was a lot of just feeling isolated and unsupported and not really having good mentorship. And I'm originally from Los Angeles, so going to college in New York State in a small town was a little rough. But I discovered the science of psychology. I started to take courses in experimental psychology and psychopathology, abnormal psych, and it was just super exciting. So I kind of discovered a new passion and decided, I'll work in a hospital. I've got to be a good candidate for grad school, so I need to take some time off and just hustle and get, become a good candidate for that. And luckily, I got into a program for a PhD in clinical psychology and worked super hard during that time to sort of I guess you could say, carve out what would in my mind be a career as a psychologist, because they don't really give you many options. When you go into a PhD program, you have a very narrow track. And it's not terribly I guess, negative for people, because that's why they went into the program. And I certainly wanted to be a scientist. I saw myself with a white lab coat and, tinkering in a lab and running projects that would improve the human experience for people. I really wanted to help people through science. But then that, I finished, and around the time I finished grad school it happened to be around the same time that I started to explore or re-explore my love for all types of media, comic books, science fiction, television, movies, adventure, fantasy, gaming. And I started to go to Comic-Con and realize, this really is my passion, is realizing, recognizing how psychological science really exists in our fandoms and our passions and all the things that we love to watch and consume and find ourselves in. And so that really really pivoted my journey into becoming a media psychologist. And then the hustle became real. Okay, how do I do a thing that isn't being done? There isn't a program for it. There isn't a track for it. A lot of rejection at first. Had to get credibility, finish the program, get licensed, get jobs, be credible, all those things. And it's been I'd say now about a 14, 15-year journey into carving out this unique career. So I currently work at UCLA as a psychologist and an internal consultant for student affairs. I work with a lot of college students, and they'll ask me like, hey, I want to present at Comic-Con. I want to do panels. I want to take my career to these spaces. And the first thing I usually tell them is like, hey, this started with educating myself and getting a graduate degree and checking all the boxes for just, getting through the door. I felt like none of this could happen had I not done all of those things first. And so I often will tell young people, it's really hard to skip those steps. So, if you're really passionate about it, it can be done. But if you want to be a psychologist, look into PhD programs. If you want to be a counselor, look into master's programs. That's an important step for us as far as our credibility and our scientific accuracy and just being, ethical and using best practices when we're in media. So that's really my passion, is to represent the science in extremely respectful ways. And that's what I've been doing.
There you go.
Yeah. Keep him busy. Keep him busy.
Keep him busy.
I have a question that kind of goes off of that, but it's a little bit off for this one. So a lot of the times, right, especially being someone who is a brown woman in the industry that you're in right now, you have to mask a lot, right? And so, but you're also in the fandom, in the nerd kind of area as well. Did you ever have to mask that part of you? Just the love for the different fandoms too? Added on?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I was bullied quite a bit in elementary school for comic books and being into graphic novels and all sorts of things that, especially for girls, just wasn't cool, So I was pushed around for that sort of thing. And I think that looking back, that started to shape some of my internal dialogue about self-awareness and the kind of, identity that I was forming for myself, and also what was acceptable and expected of me. So, speaking of blending in and accommodating for others, I learned, I was bilingual growing up. And so I learned how to speak differently. I learned how to hide some of the awkward, odd stuff that was going on.
You're still working on it.
I mean, how many things do you you've got to figure out how many things you're going to be weird about. First, being a mixed race brown kid. So that's one thing you got to work on. Bilingual, have an accent, immigrant. Now I'm a nerd and I'm quirky and I'm odd and I, hyper fixate on things, have collections.
Yep.
Gotta figure out how to hide a lot of those things. There's too many strikes against me. So growing up and getting into college, I definitely masked along the spectrum of those things.
There you go. Yeah, I got so many jokes to say right now, but I won't hold
Go
them.
for it.
She's like, I'm working on it, trying, I said, you're still working on not being awkward. You're still working on it. You ain't perfect.
For real. Yeah.
We all are.
Who you telling? So yeah, we all spend time in the closet. We're all trapped in a closet of some closet somewhere. We're all code switching and hiding identities. All jokes aside, we all hide identities. Okay. So question that I have for you is, I'm gonna say it funnily. Is that a word? Funnily. When did you realize you weren't trash? Because you grow up, you're getting bullied, and you're like, I fucking suck. You're like, everyone hates me. I must be terrible. I don't sound like the other kids. And we all grow up with I'm trash. And maybe you didn't, right? But I sure as hell grew up I'm bottom of the barrel, education, dyslexia, poor neighborhood in Flint and Saginaw, Michigan, one of the poorest, Flint's the poorest city in the nation. And I'm like, okay, I'm way behind. So I didn't realize I wasn't trash until like my master's degree. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not going right to prison. I got a shot.
Oh my God.
We just got done having dinner with the interns here at Purdue, and they were giving out awards, and they said, and our first award. And I said, which is going to be the first one to go to prison? And they all pointed at this one chick.
No.
And then the funny thing is they said, well, this is what you do when you graduate high school. So that's why I said, don't go to prison. And I joked aside, I went to jail about 9 months later after I graduated, but that's a different story for a different day. So when did you realize you weren't trash, Doc?
I don't know that I'm not. I think that is really something that's hard to recover from.
Bruh.
So I think, we're going to talk about our inner critic in this episode, but the self-loathing and the internalized oppression, those things are real, and we can't buck that. Like, it stays with us in various forms. It comes up. I'm going to tell a quick story. I like to shop at the Gelsons. Now, for folks in Los Angeles.
Yeah, what's that?
The Gelsons is a nicer grocery store than let's say the Ralphs or the Vons, which are totally fine places to shop. But I want to get a protein shake and maybe like gluten-free bread or something. So I'm going to go to the Gelsons. And this is not even a joke. This happened to me very recently, like a couple months ago, where this grocery store has a flower shop too. And
of course it does. Why not?
Everything.
And I know. So I'm getting I'm getting a gift for my sister. And I noticed this beautiful vase that actually reminded me of my grandmother on my mother's side, who had passed away. Story for another time. But that our grandmother, also an immigrant, experienced multiple immigration intergenerational stories from China to Ecuador, South America, and then I'm the daughter of her daughter who immigrated to the U.S. So the exchange of buying this vase was so uncomfortable. I simply asked, actually asked, is it a vase? Because I'm awkward and weird, and it clearly is, but I'm trying to strike a conversation with the clerk. And she looks at me and she says, there are less expensive vases by the counter.
Oh,
and
okay.
And I said, well, I'm looking at this one at, just wanting to, make sure that it's for sale. It's a weird question. Like, is this for sale? Is kind of what the question was, but I was really just trying to get her attention. Anyway, she doubled down and said, once again, she really doubled down. She said, that's a very expensive vase. So to answer your question, Dr. Nas, most of the time I don't feel like trash.
Yep.
But there is once in a while, someone will remind me that that's how they feel about me. And we got to work a little extra hard to not, take that moment and take it back to our childhood, growing up, being told you can't do this, you can't do that, you don't belong here, you don't speak the language, you can't afford this, why are you here, what are you? It's, incredibly challenging to like overcome that. And I know the what are you is still kind of sits with a lot of us. Like, I'm fine with me, but you need an explanation. You need me to be in a category that you feel comfortable with. So I'll have an exchange like that, and I'll realize I was fine that day. I was going to the Gelsons, getting gluten-free bread, just kind of minding my own business. I can't mind my own business without occasionally being reminded of the way that people perceive this person in this body.
Yep. Every once in a while, you're gonna reminded you're not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter where you go in America, other parts of the world, but specifically in America, you get reminded. Mm-hmm. Yep. Someone will tell you. Me and Spence just did a 2-week road trip, and there was a couple moments where we're like, oh, we don't belong here. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. This is interesting. Spence, it's time to go. Let's go.
Yeah. Or let's keep driving because it's not going to end well if we stop here.
No,
So,
we're gonna keep it moving. Okay. I wanted to point that out right now as being funny and sarcastic, but like, if we're being for real though, we don't think like, oh man, I treat myself poor, like my inner thoughts. You're like, no, I feel like I'm trash. My one client said, Nas, I'm a dumpster fire. And I was like, shut up. I'm worse than trash. I'm trash that's on fire in the dumpster. I was like, oh my God. I got to get extra money for this client. Charging the double. Yep. You're going to need to take out a loan, girl.
The double session.
Yeah. No, you need a loan. Girl, you need FAFSA for this.
FAFSA?
Yeah.
God, it's fucking triggering.
I know. Shit, man. Real quick story. I'm trying to get my windows fixed in my house and like get a new air conditioner. I called the loan people. They're like, yeah, we can't approve your loan. I'm like, how? I mean, I'm in good shape, great credit, you know. You're like, sir, you owe like 180 in like student loans. You ain't getting no more credit. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, well, okay, makes sense.
Gotta love student loans.
Debt to income ratio. Worst thing you'll hear as an adult. Well, there's a lot of bad things. This is sarcastic and very privileged. Debt to income ratio. I hate that fucking term. All right. So, Spence, any more questions before I get on my nonsense?
Did you go back to that store and be like Pretty Woman it and be like 5 stacks on you?
I love that reference. So my husband was sitting in the car.
Okay.
During and
he brought out a gun.
He brought out his Black Panther flag.
What?
I couldn't think of nothing.
All right.
No, but look, he did say, "Do you want me to go in the store with you?" And I said, "It's Gelson's. I'm good."
Yeah.
He is a white, able-bodied, cisgender man. And he wasn't wrong that day because I truly don't believe that would be, you know, I did not think that would be the treatment that I would get.
Nope.
But I said, when I got in the car, I said, I was pretty womaned in there. And he knew what I was talking about.
Just like, there you go. Here's your face. Here's your face.
But seriously, Spencer, it took me a while to go back because that's a store I would occasionally go to.
Yep.
I felt like, you know, it's the sort of thing where when we talk about masking and we talk about our different identities, what we foreground, what we background, you know, all the different ways in which we interact with people. I avoided that store for a bit, and I had to think about that for a little bit. Like, why can't I just go shopping for groceries again? Like, what's going on there? And I think, to your point, some of those insecurities about my belongingness and my value had just come back and were living with me. And so I did eventually go back, but I had to, like a good therapist, I had to like pause and process, like, what does this mean? Why is this coming up again? What is triggering about it? What are the antecedents? What, you know, how can I use some mindfulness before I go? And of course, you know, my husband said, you should call the manager on this person. And I said, no, you know, when something like that happens, we actually turn to fight or flight mode. And one of the things that I immediately did was actually make this woman feel better rather than make myself feel better. She eventually, I ended up buying that vase, and she said, you know, I didn't mean anything bad by what I said. And I said, it's fine, not a big deal, because I just wanted to kind of diffuse the situation and make these feelings just dissipate within me. And so by making her feel better, I was thinking that, you know, this would kind of soften the situation.
So it's a nice person.
And I think it's a bit of a trauma response, right? Just try to diffuse and soften and calm it so that I don't get more upset.
Yep.
But then I'm walking on eggshells and I'm trying to navigate a situation. I'm doing all the work, and this person doesn't
Just
really
exists.
have any consequences. And then my husband was like, I bet you wanted to buy all the vases in that store. And I said, no, I wanted to smash all the vases in that store. That is the feeling.
Well,
It's the rage. I'm not allowed to have it, but it's the rage that came out that I had to like just sit with that in my body, because where's that going to go? I can't yell at this woman.
Mhm.
I can't make it
Woosah.
worse, right?
Yeah, because then
Woosah.
you're seen as the perpetrator, even though you were technically
Egged on.
victimized in that situation, right? And it's like when you have a bad experience just in a store in general, you're like, I don't want to go back to that place because it was shit. But once you also add on the fact that it's probably racially motivated, and also something that's triggered you in the past, I mean, it's even worse, because what else can you do? It's like, damn, all I wanted to do was just go into the store, buy my shit, and then go. But then you add on a whole new layer of this trauma. In a way, it's trauma, and then you just add it on top. And thankfully, I like the fact that you're nice enough to do that to somebody, because believe me, in other circumstances would not go down like that at all.
Can you
Especially
imagine my dad.
Oh my god.
So my dad's very hot-headed. Even with him like being full-bodied, like disabled now, he will lash you with words.
Yeah.
My
It's
God.
pretty amazing. Not gonna lie. It's pretty amazing to watch.
It's terrifying. Yeah. Spence, if you could have seen him when he was able-bodied. You're like, where did the gun come from? Jesus. Why is
Just has
everyone?
it.
Are we robbing the place?
All right, let's do it.
I guess I'm driving.
I'm only 12, but it's fine. All right.
I was 13. My dad said I was grown. At 13, he said, you're grown now. I was like, I am?
I mean, you were like probably 6 foot when you were 13. So,
real talk. Real talk.
Yeah,
I was like 6'2", 300 pounds. Yeah. Besides the point. I just want to emphasize this is I know we're talking about identity when it comes to race, and then also maybe a little bit of gender too, but you can replace this with anything that makes you feel like a mutant. So it could be sexuality, even though technically that's unseen, but some may present it a little bit more than others. If it's a trans identity, you can also replace it with different religious phobias. So, if a person is maybe Muslim, or maybe they're in a traditional garb, whether they're Native or Indian, East Asian, right? So you can replace those things with the looks. And those looks to some might not mean nothing, and for some it could be destroying. I go into certain places knowing I'm going to get judged because of my size, being a really big 6'2", 350-pound Polynesian looking dude, even though I'm Mexican and Arab. My dad just saw the last podcast where I called myself Polynesian. I said another thing too. I'm not going to mention what I said. So I know we're going to get looked at kind of weird. So I just take it as a thing of pride that I can be like looking ghetto as shit and bummy as hell and then still go buy that expensive thing. But I go in the grocery store, I'm buying like $600 worth of groceries. Ain't no EBT card. Right? This is cash, homie. But I mean, that's the way I go about it, knowing that I'm going to be different in these places. Me and Spencer were on this massive 2-week trip. When no Latinos, Latinx, when no black folks. Me and Spence were sticking out. My brother's sticking out like sore thumbs. A lot of Asian individuals. And then mostly white and Asian. And then you're like, man, is there going to be any like brown folk? Nope. Oh, there's 2 of them. Hey, how you doing? Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Look my salam. You're like, oh, hey.
How we both get arrested? Ain't that some shit? All right. So I'm going to ask you a random question, but a fun one. If you were a character in the X-Men, who would you be?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, I'll tell you who I would like to be.
Charmander.
It's one of those things where like I'm always sorted into the house I don't want to be in because I feel like I match a different house.
Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I'm always sorted into Hufflepuff.
You're
Just
definitely
like,
a Hufflepuff,
what the
homie.
fuck?
Yeah.
No,
You're
You
a
just were
Hufflepuff.
nice to the white lady that said you were poor. Let's be real. You're a Hufflepuff. You just kissed this white lady's ass.
but I
You got started.
intellectualized it. I feel like I'm a Ravenclaw. Anyway,
Oh, whatever.
every damn test I take, it tells me. But truly, if I would be, I'd be Mystique. I think I'd be Mystique.
Okay.
I
That's what I thought too.
I love a shapeshifter. I love. Yeah. I feel like I'm already doing this, but to be able to do this on like a superpower level, to blend in and be savvy and have discernment and in the intelligence to read the room and know how to present yourself, but to actually take the shape and form of any person, gender, identity, you can really move through the power system and take advantage of it. Yeah. So yeah, there's all sorts of cool things you can do as Mystique. So she has always been, I think, like a really, really cool mutant.
There you go.
Are you comfortable wearing that mask? Because there are some people that are uncomfortable wearing that mask and being able to, code switch and all that and change. Are you comfortable in that role, or is that something that you've kind of gotten used to over time?
I think it depends.
Okay.
I work at a university where I feel like I've gotten accustomed to the kind of shape-shifting that I need to do to be successful, right? Get the letters after your name, speak the language, be all about, what you need to be in terms of being successful in higher education. It sounds like like I'm in a scam or something. Like it's all things that I actually did. Yeah. But some of it may feel inauthentic to me because of just the landscape and the elitism around higher education, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you can kind of walk the walk and talk the talk. And I think that sometimes you just need to know what's authentic and what feels genuine. And the outcome, at least for me, is that I truly, truly want to help people and I want to improve the system. Yep. And my strategy is I've got to do it from the inside. I can't be on the sidelines and the margins. I actually have to be in the room at the table. And I tell, some people have asked about social justice movements and how to really make change. And, part of me feels like it doesn't feel like a sellout necessarily, but a part of me feels like I am forgiving myself for participating in some of the things that I know perpetuates a power system that harmed me and continues to harm me and people like me. So there's an internal struggle there once in a while with, what am I really doing? Am I really helping people in the counseling, psychology, mental health work? All of us got into this because we truly care about people's well-being. So it's sort of like, about embracing that level of power if you get it and not taking that ladder and picking it up and taking it with you. You got to, yeah, exactly. Well said. It's the gatekeeping that I'm trying to dismantle.
Yep. I literally feel the same exact way in my job. And I've been trying to moving up in like counseling centers and CAPS and trying to become associate directors, this and that. And then I started to understand, like, what the hell am I doing? I didn't even want to do this. I was supposed to work in K through 12 with Black and brown poor communities. Why am I at this institution? And then so I've had a lot of identity shifts. Now life is pivoting towards private practice, working on the pocket that I want, and then doing adjunct professor things, community college level. So that's the goal. This is back, and then open my community center where what I always wanted since high school. So I went away from it, and then I was like, what the fuck did I do? I'm a piece of shit. And like, no, I just helped out and saved like 1,000 people from not kill themselves and stay in school. So it wasn't worthless.
Yeah.
I explain this because life changes so much, and sometimes you feel like you betray yourself, and that's a horrible thing. Did I sell out? Parts of me did, but also I needed money to support my 2 family members that live with me. So you can do it within, but also you have to make sure you take care of yours. I don't know. Earlier you said the word was hustle, or maybe you didn't. You said it was a scam. Capitalism makes you hustle and kind of scam, man. It's survival of the fittest. And you do so many different things. My God, all the different things that Spencer said. So you've checked all the boxes. So there's always going to be a seat at the table for you. The question is, is someone going to open the door so you can go sit at the table? Because some folks don't like to open the door for us.
Yeah.
That's a lot of metaphors for a lot of folks that are listening. I apologize. All right. One last question, then we'll get into the scenes.
Yes.
So you identify as Mystique, right? The ability to code switch, really good at it. Who do you find are the people that you don't have to, be that chameleon? You can just go straight blue skin.
Straight blue skin.
Who's your Magneto?
Yeah. Who is the person like?
Who's your Michael Fassbender?
Hey, shit, I'll be anything for Michael Fassbender now.
Michael, what's up?
I'm out the closet. I want to pee on you. I'm sorry.
Oh, shut the
Drip, drip, drip.
Okay. No, I got it. I got you.
Sorry.
I got you.
So yeah,
Took me a second, but I'm with you there.
Yeah. So who are the people? Not necessarily
Pose the
identifying.
question.
Exactly.
Not necessarily identifying who is the exact person, but what do you find in common with the people you get to unmask with? Is it chuckleheads like us, or what's in common with your partner, your friends? Is it neurodivergent folks? Is it nerdy folks, or do you always have a mask with them too? What's the common?
I think it depends on the mask, right? Because I listed off all those things that are so intersectional, and I'm going to say something that's going to sound sad, but please don't feel sad about it. I don't know that I've ever felt a full level of belongingness because of the mixture of my identities. Like any Ecuadorian, Chinese, American folks,
Hey, no, my boy Bobby. Yeah, what's up, Bobby dog?
Ricky.
Ricky,
you just got back from Ecuador and China?
Yeah, man. That's some good ass. You must really love race.
You got paid. Oh my fucking God.
Those 2 ethnicities love rice.
Oh, that's actually that you read me completely.
See?
Yes.
Good rice eating motherfucker.
So I guess not so sad, but I've gotten used to kind of not quite feeling that I fit in completely.
Yep.
But this is not a tragedy. It's actually over the course of becoming an adult and finding a cool career and, going to pop culture conventions and Comic-Con. I've realized like, I don't need that. I don't need to find people that are exactly like me.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, when I am at places like Comic-Con, I truly feel I can kind of like just wild out. Like I can be who I am. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because I like a lot of nerdy things and I really fixate on nerdy things. And I have all sorts of weird collections that to me is not weird. But when I go to places like Comic-Con, I see other people standing in line 3 hours to get that Batman figure or, people trying to get a signature on a comic book or wearing X-Men t-shirts or whatever, the different ways in which we kind of signal to each other the kinds of things we love. That to me is a place where I really feel like I fit in.
So I'll say this, then we're done. So that's part of the reasons why I like some type of self-disclosure in the therapy office, and I keep my colloquiums and my hoodness with me. Right, I got all my nerdy stuff in my office, and everyone comes to my office and said, "Man, this is kind of comfortable. This is just like someone's bedroom." I said, "That's pretty cool. You should feel comfortable. You should be able to sit down on the floor, and I got with these big ass teddy bears you can sit with, or you want to play a game, whatever." It tends to be when they see that you're not this perfect suit and tie, they're like, "Oh, maybe I can talk to you." A lot of students will report that they like people that are fucked up. because they're not going to feel judged by the person. If that person's messed up too, they're like, oh, we're both on the same level. I tend to like people that got a little seasoning, a little bit of trauma, a little bit of trauma, you know, a whole lot of autism, you know. If in case you don't know, Doc, a lot of us folks, we usually, our cohorts for neurodivergent folks is like pockets. So it's just like races and genders, and we all have our pockets. Neurodivergent folks find each other. We're like, oh, you like chicken tenders too?
You don't like eye contact? Same. Hey. Okay.
You don't shower either?
Oh.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
All right. That was really fun.
Let's get into the scene.
I pushed her buttons a lot to make her like feel awkward. She did well. You handled the test.
Oh, this was a test?
There was a lot of tests.
Exactly.
I made you pass out almost once. I was like, I got her. She's dead. She's off camera. All right.
Let's start the scenes. All right. So first scene that we do, it was with Storm and then also the adversary, right? So the adversary, I think this is like the first time that they actually showed the adversary in like any type of media, besides like comic books. And the adversary pretty much like feeds off fear from its victims. And so Storm is going through a very tough time right now because she lost her powers, right? She was shot with that ray gun during like the UN and pretty much lost all of her powers. Then she went into hiding, and then she finds this guy named Forge, right? And he got bitten by the adversary and he's poisoned, and now she's trying to figure out a way to help heal him, but she doesn't have her powers, so she's feeling useless. And then also you have this big ass bird in her own voice,
big ass pigeon,
saying the biggest pigeon, saying like, you're nothing. You don't have your powers. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna save them? How are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do that? Right? Yeah, I think it's a great metaphor, especially for just like our own fears, our own depression kind of eating away at us and just slowly nagging in the background, not actually doing anything, but really just that talk right in your ear. So would love to know why'd you pick this scene and kind of what are you going for here?
Well, the scene to me is centered around a manifestation of anxiety, trauma, Storm's inner critic, sort of the collection of all of these harmful things that we learn are embodied by Storm herself. So, spoiler here, but if you've seen the clip, what we learn is that Storm actually has the ability to overcome and best the giant bird through her own emotion regulation, through her own formation of self-awareness, identity affirmation, and even some acceptance of like, wait, this horrific creature, this beast, this monster that I'm fearful of is a part of me. Like there's some representation that lives in this creature that is also, a manifestation of my own negative emotions. And so that's one thing that I think is really powerful about this scene is that, we say this a lot with our clients that, our natural reaction to negative emotions is to like get rid of them, to avoid them, can't tolerate it. So we try to run away, hide from it. And it makes sense because those feelings are distressing.
Yep.
Those feelings, whether it's anxiety or a trauma response or depression or self-loathing, which is what is named. I had some trouble because I need the captions when I watch X-Men. So it's like trying to follow along, but they even name self-loathing as what this creature feeds on.
Yep.
And so a lot of times, again, like when we work with our clients, we talk about how while it's a natural reaction to flee from those feelings, sometimes we need to sit with those feelings and explore and process them. Where are they coming from? Why are they attacking us? And when we're ready, there's also a level of acceptance at what part of this anger, rage, fear, anxiety, whatever that is, what part of that can we accept as a part of ourselves, and also know that doesn't define me. I'm not an awful person. I'm not a monster. I'm not perfect. I know y'all have covered perfectionism and how a lot of us feel that we're broken unless we're absolutely perfect on everything. And when it comes to emotion regulation, we're only human. And it's interesting. This bird says something about the lie. I think the line is believe the lie, believe the lie.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the lie? What do y'all think the lie is? What's the lie?
Because there's a go ahead, boss.
Well, I was going to say, and Forge, I don't know if it was in this scene or the one before. Forge said when the colonizers came, or when they were talking about European colonizers, that he was talking about the big lie, and then he got interrupted. So we never got to hear what he was talking about when he talked about the lie.
Right. I mean, since he is native, I mean, the big lie I would think would actually be the fact that they were promised certain things and they never got them. Native Americans, at least. Mm-hmm. And that was and I believe that's actually known as the big lie, is when they were told all these different things that they were going to do. Oh yeah, we'll give you all this land, we'll give you everything, we'll leave you alone, all this stuff, and then obviously that never came to be. So
here's some blankets. Oh, these look warm. Wait a minute, we all did.
Yeah.
we all did. So that didn't work.
We all did.
Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, it makes sense.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So for Storm, I think there's something there around, like, the big lie is that, at least in Storm's situation, that there's something inherently wrong with her.
Yep.
That she is broken. And I think that's a part of coming through this, or getting out of this, or overcoming this, is that, it's okay not to be perfect, but we don't have to believe that we're defined as being broken. Whether that's, your mind, your brain works differently, that doesn't mean you're broken. You deal with anxiety and intrusions and trauma, that doesn't mean you're broken. So it's almost like she had to reclaim the monster within her, kind of redefine, reevaluate, and really kind of decide it's okay that these feelings live within me, but I'm not going to let these negative intrusions control me. And so it's really about regaining control.
Correct. It was a different movie, and I can't remember. I feel like it was Viola Davis. And she's whispering to someone, and someone told you a lie one day, or maybe it was someone else. I know it definitely was a black actress. And she said, you were told a lie. You were told that you're worthless, that you were trash, right? And they're going back to pretty much talking about like slavery. They're talking about you're 2/3 of a person. And you were told these horrific lies. So I use that with my clients all the time. I said, who told you this lie? What are you talking about, Nas? Well, who told you that you was dumb or worthless, or that you're stupid, or all right, you're not pretty, or this and that? Who told you those lies? Well, no one. So why you keep saying this shit to yourself? Where is it coming from, and why do you keep doing it? And if this lie isn't helping you, maybe believe the truth that everyone else is telling you, because everyone's giving you love and love and love, but you keep believing this one lie that might have been said by a bully back in the day. Who knows? So that's usually where I go with the lie. And I say it all the time, and I get into like this very somber voice. So that's what I like to do. And when she says the echo of who I am, she's talking about, right, this boogeyman, this big ass pigeon. It's just an echo of who I am. So Spencer knows that I believe that we're all broken, And I take pride in being that. I don't think none of us are like not fixed. I think we're all broken in certain ways. I embrace that, and that's part of me. That's one little subsection of my identity. There's some pieces over here. It could be about a million different things. We all got shit. None of us are perfect. That means that all of us are flawed. So I'll use the word broken instead of flawed. And so, because, religion can mess shit up. You're perfect in my image and all that shit. Well, I don't know, bro. I think we all fucked up. So, and we all are. So I get my clients to accept that. And that's when I start doing the imagery around food, because I'm big as hell. I'm like, you like bananas? Yeah, I like bananas. You ever see one of them bruises on bananas? They're like, nah, I swear, in the hell are you going? And I'm dealing with like very autistic clients with hyperphantasia. So they're like, oh, banana.
And bruise. Wow, look at that bruise.
That shit, it's about to be sweet. And I said, do you throw away the banana if it's got one bruise? No. I said, so why are you going to throw away yourself just because it's got a couple bruises? You're most likely going to eat it. And if it is trash to you because you don't like bruised fruit, a bunch of other people are going to make pies with it. And it's going to be one of the sweetest fucking things you've ever had in your entire life. And they're like, damn. I'm like, yep. Just because you're damaged or you have issues doesn't mean that you are worthless. Doesn't mean that you are trash. So that's how I like to go about it, is to embrace that part of yourself and know that it's only one part of you, just like we're segregating out eating disorders, anxiety, all those different things, those neurodivergent things. It's just one subsection of you. So that's where I kind of go with that. And then, of course, she does her whole rebirth thing and gets her powers. We're making a reel out of that shit, FYI. Her like getting souped up.
Yeah.
Also spends.
I love it.
Also spends. You know me. You know I love a strong black woman.
I love a god.
I
really do.
Black.
I love a god.
The great
My favorite kind of woman.
Silver Fox.
I think we need to see that too, because
Transcendence.
when we picture superheroes, a lot of times they're perfect and they're so empowered and they do no wrong, and they're they're flawless. And I love stories like this where Storm's power was taken from her.
Yep.
She was violated. This was not her choice.
Good word.
This was a part of her identity that defined her.
Yep.
And it's all the conversations with her and other mutants about, like, I think a lot about being a non-mutant. Like, what don't we all fantasize about not being neurodivergent, not being brown, not being a woman? I could go on and on, right? Yeah. We fantasize about those things. It's okay to admit that. And she says it a few times. And then she realizes that her true power comes from her uniqueness and who she is, and so it brings up to me too this discipline of liberation psychology, which is meant to transcend and kind of topple traditional psychology, which really just kind of looks at the individual and finds the illness within a single person, whereas liberation psychology really takes an approach of the environmental contributors to what gives us distress, right? So the social, political, intergenerational, interpersonal exchanges and experiences we have can be big factors and influence our wellness and our illness. And liberation psychology really tries to take the blame from the individual and look at those other complicated layers. And we realize, like, yeah, sometimes I feel unwell, but I've got to know that it's the oppressive, especially for mutants, right? It's the oppressive environment around them that causes the anxiety and the intrusions and the trauma, especially for like the Morlocks, right? Where they're like living underground. Not anymore, because some of them have been killed on Genosha. But these folks have learned, yeah, I feel unwell all the time because I'm constantly living in a world that wants to eradicate me. My existence itself is a problem for people. And so why pathologize the person, right? Why pathologize Storm or Leech or Callisto or any of these people, right? And so I think X-Men in particular is a great show to give us that layer of environmental factors that lead to these really common feelings that a lot of us have.
Yeah, totally. And I also think that, especially with X-Men, we've never really seen them in this like Superman or anything like that light where they're they look like perfection, right? Anytime we see X-Men, um, no matter what, like society in general or even themselves, like they all are going through something that's going to really kind of keep them on a level of like, wow, I'm not considered a god. I'm just trying to be either normal or I'm just trying to be myself. And that's what I really love about X-Men is the fact that you get that story of people who are imperfect. And it goes in all these different stories that go along. I mean, people talk about Cyclops, Wolverine, all this, that they all have their own
They do.
stories. And I love the fact that they all go through something and they're never feeling like, hey, you know what? Life is good. That's it, like even if they do for a second, it gets like thrown out the window in like 5 seconds. Like, I'm Wolverine and I finally found the love of my life. Oh, she's been mind controlling me this whole time. Oh shit.
Jesus Christ.
So, hey,
Well, that's
watch
just women.
Wolverine
That's
the
just
movie.
that's just women in general. Let's be real.
All right.
You had to go there. You're doing so well.
I
You're doing so well.
I'm sorry. That's just women.
Well, the
yeah.
other thing, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
going to say all these great things about X-Men. The other thing about X-Men, going back to the 90s, is that they'll kind of like have this lesson within the episode.
Mhm.
But remember some of those cartoons back in the day, like in the 80s, where at the end of the episode, some guy will come out and be like, "The more you know," or
Yeah.
"Let me
Like
break this down and tell
like
you
the
what
Three
you were
Stooges, just like these aren't real hammers, all right? Stop hitting each other with them. Like, stop it.
This show doesn't do that, like this show doesn't have that that direct lesson
Right.
that was intended, to be a part of the narrative. We are both X-Men 97 as well as the original animated series. Those shows give you these exchanges and these situations, and then you kind of have to sit with it like, wow, I feel a certain way about that. I was just watching, because on my podcast we're covering the original animated series.
Yep.
And Mystique was at the Capitol shape-shifting, and this government worker said, "Oh my gosh, I just saw a mutant change from he to she, and then they're like, where are they?" And the woman goes, "It is over there." And that's the dialogue. And then it moves on to a different scene. And so again, you're sitting with this notion of like, wow, that woman just called this person it. And there's no character comes up at the end of the show and tells you, well, this is demeaning and dehumanizing, and, people who don't fit in categories, whatever. Like, they don't shove that down your throat. You kind of have to sit with that discomfort and that idea like, wow, that woman did not understand the experience of a shapeshifter in the same way that a lot of people are out here not understanding the experience of a mixed race person.
Yep.
Or a trans person or a neurodivergent person. And so I do like that these shows give you that content, and then they kind of, hopefully invite you to begin wrestling with the feelings that you have and understanding your world better.
Yep. There you go. So Spence, we're definitely scene 1 and 2. We just covered both of those. So we'll move on to the third one. Before we move on, when you talked about, what was the term that you called it? The different type of therapy you're talking about. What was it called?
Media psychology?
No, the thing
For
that's
Storm?
no the
liberation?
Liberation psychology.
Liberation psychology.
So, of course people are unwell in the world because the world is unwell. Like literally, the world itself is unwell. The physical ground, the water, the earth, the air is unwell. So of course we are going to be unwell, and also just humans in general are quite terrible. There was this reading that we had to do, we didn't have to do. Coworker brought it up, and I don't think it was a full-on book, or maybe it was a subsection in a book. All it talked about was the groundwater. And we all are around this pond, and the groundwater is poisoned. So, of course, everything else around it will be poisoned, and everything that you build upon it will be poisoned. The houses, the infrastructure, the food, you're all, no matter what, taking in this poison. This poison was specifically racism, which the book was talking about. But if the groundwater is poisoned, then why are we surprised when all of us are growing up with like weird stuff and mental illness? Because there's poison in the water. So it makes sense not to always pathologize the client, but also take in the context as you would do or a social worker would do and be like, there's a lot of factors that are going into this. They ain't just crazy. Who made them crazy? All right. So now we pivot into the big blue rat looking dude.
Don't you dare.
Don't you dare talk about Hank like that.
The big bunny
don't
looking.
Don't you dare.
The big ass.
Don't you dare.
The Barney knockoff.
Nope. Don't.
Don't you make fun of Frasier in a blue suit. How dare you?
So
I won't tolerate it. I won't tolerate.
Well, someone.
I will say
this discriminative language.
Don't you?
She's
dare
like, you can talk
call me
about
a blue
racist.
man.
You can make fun of racial comments. Don't talk about the big blue guy.
Don't you dare talk about
now
the hairy
look,
blue guy.
But for real,
what's up,
Beast?
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
Really unpack Beast.
Oh yeah.
Beast is very complicated. I know most people will see he's just this blue hairy monster. He wears glasses. He's a scientist, like, but really, I have decided in my analysis.
Here we go.
The last few years of analyzing X-Men.
Buckle up.
He is the most. If there's this, there's a term Magneto says, Homo superior is the term Magneto says. If there's ever an example that elucidates that term, it's Beast. And obviously intelligent, right?
Yep.
Emotionally intelligent, socially intelligent, interpersonally intelligent. Doesn't matter what the man looks like.
Yeah.
Like that's just that's just his packaging. I almost said his package.
Hey.
Also his package, but his packaging.
It's it's furry too.
So don't say anything negative. I will defend everything that Beast says and does. I truly admire this mutant the most because of everything he's endured and also his willingness to just be who he is. He can't look, this guy can't mask. This guy can't hide his mutant exterior.
Yep.
His phenotype is out there loud and clear.
Yep.
So he's had to live his whole life, for the most part, navigating a world that hates mutants and finds them to be subhuman and says, hold my beer. I will get all of your degrees. I'll read all your books. I'll be in all of your elite spaces.
Look at you.
At least the ones you'll let me into. I'll do all those things. I'll have all the letters after my name. And I'll prove to you I can be more human than you are. I think it's really, really difficult to fight him on that. He did all the right things. And I think a lot of us can relate to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the very first season of the original animated series, he's actually in prison for nearly, 8 or 9 of the episodes. He's been in prison the whole time because they were able to catch him. And he sits in prison peacefully, meditating, reading Shakespeare. And Magneto himself tried to pull him out of there. And he said, I believe in due process. And I believe that these people will eventually see my value. Which is why I brought this clip up, because you see that he's just about done. He's just about done with these non-mutant, allistic people.
Goddamn humans.
Trash.
The worst. The worst.
Yep. Yeah, terrible. They're terrible. They should have just let what the hell's that big ass from the Transformers? That thing was gonna eat the whole planet. They should have just let all the bad guys. They should let Megatron just kill us all. But no, Optimus had to save us. Optimus had to say the humans are
Gal-
You
good.
could have said like
Galvatron?
any other. You could have said like Galactus or something like that.
No, I
you went
pivoted.
for Transformers. You're like, no.
Because Optimus
No.
is always like, I love the humans.
Sell out. Fucking sell out Optimus Prime.
But I get Optimus. He's the one that stood in the way. It's the wrong universe. I'm sorry. Was there ever a crossover between those two? I don't know.
Hey, one day
Probably. It probably has happened.
it's gonna be great.
But no, that was a very great articulation of who he is and what he represents, right? I haven't thought about
So
it.
don't come for him. Yeah, what are you going to say? You can't come for him.
Well, shit, he better not buy a vase in my store.
So
No blue people allowed.
he showed up. He showed up on Genosha in just tidy whities, basically. Like he didn't. Did you notice? Like he didn't have the lab coat. He just showed up.
He
almost
wasn't
naked.
He wasn't shucking the jive or nothing. He was
He
out
was like,
letting it all
"This
hang
is
out.
it. This
is
is
me."
all me. This is what you get."
Yeah.
And by the way, he's the one who can, reverse engineer whatever weapon they need. He's
Correct.
the one who can find the cures for these illnesses. He's the one that's helping treat the survivors on Genosha. His compassion, his level of
It's awesome.
compassion is endless. Despite the oppression and hatred that people have for him, he is just like willing to just be his true self. And I think that's just
There you go.
like, I really envy him a lot.
Well, you love an autistic man, and it's good for you. Smart as hell, wearing a furry suit, right? Loves computers. I mean, has deep empathy and mirroring neurons. Come on. Shows up to the
It's all
party
there.
in tidy whities. Come on.
What autistic man doesn't?
We're all about neurodiversity on this podcast, baby.
We sure are.
Said he's in a furry suit.
And let's be honest, though, every iteration of Beast
It's magnificent.
is always great.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelsey Grammer played very well, and then also in the prequels, I played very well.
I
Even
loved
though
him in the prequels.
I love the fact that he was playing around with it, like just being like, okay, I just want to be normal.
Correct.
I just want to be human.
Yep.
I just want to be this. But then he becomes his own worst enemy, trying to make a cure, and then he becomes even more, I guess, sick in his terms at the time. It was
Yep.
just more sick,
Yeah.
and then he becomes Beast, right?
Yep.
And then, throughout the series, he kind of is still playing with that, but at the same time, he's also getting used to it and being like, you know what? This is who I am.
This is
This
it.
is who I'm going to be for
Acceptance.
the rest of my life. Acceptance. There you go.
Acceptance, love, self-compassion, all the good. He doesn't believe that
all those
lie
things.
anymore. He don't believe the lie.
Well, that exactly. He's not internalizing the endless messages that are in the, anti-mutant rhetoric in the society that he lives in.
Right.
And he's really able, he has that fortitude of just being his true self and not willing to believe the things that not just that society's saying, but the government is saying, the violence is saying, even his X-Men, he has some fellow X-Men who are looking for cures for their, mutant phenotypes.
Yep.
And he's, he just really has that level of resilience that I think is really admirable. In this, the reason I picked this scene is that Trish, who is
Reporter.
an emerging love interest
Oh,
with Beast.
she got the goods.
They do have some
Hello.
history.
Hello, Miss Lady. Now, go on now. How you doing?
do have
How you
some
doing?
history.
Yeah.
But she struck a nerve because she basically says, "Oh, I've accepted you under certain terms, right? This has a lot to do with certain social justice movements. I think the disability justice movement, as well as others, where we're told, we believe in your liberation, but just do it quietly. Do it kind of, can you like bring it down a little bit?
Yeah.
And I think Beast has heard enough of that minimizing. And even for someone he truly admires, despite his long-lasting patience and his intelligence, he's done with it. You can see in his facial expression that he just feels totally misunderstood by this person, and that he's fighting a fight that she doesn't understand.
There's a joke with Spence. Is a fellow black man. Do you remember the quote that he used from Martin Luther King?
Riots are the result of, I can't remember.
The unheard?
The unheard. I think it was the unheard.
I think that's how it went.
Yeah.
And so I guess I wanted to bring attention to that. So he's looking at everything being torn down. So let's relate this stuff into today's day and age. You brought up the disability, rights or act. And so we're looking at the ADA law, and it wasn't getting passed. And so you had massive protests right in the streets with disabled people. And this was not your normal protest. This wasn't a bunch of folks out there protesting like women's rights and abortion and like queer love and like marriage rights, right? You got people that are like legit disabled crawling on the street, crawling up the stairs, trying to get this law passed while it was sitting in court. And they were like, everyone was disgusted. It was mass media everywhere. People that are on their backs and bellies, right? I mean, it was very intrusive. And so the law ends up getting passed because of these people are like out there ravaging or raging against the machine, what it is, the world. It's saying, no, you don't deserve these rights. If you can't get into the building, fuck you. And fast forward to today, there's a lot of different things that people have now, right? Every time you apply for a job, it asks you disabilities, things like that, so they can't hold that against you. And I think as a able-bodied individual, you don't really pay attention to things. Or maybe as a neurotypical person, you don't really pay attention to things. But I'm going to stick into the physical stuff. I started having my father who was disabled. And now you start paying attention to everything. The cracks in the floor, if there's a little deviation in the cement, right? There's stairs. And there's this famous place in Detroit, this chicken wing spot. And, I had to pick him up by the ribs to get him in there. Well, he's not that strong, and I cracked one of his ribs and broke one of his ribs trying to get him in there. And other people told us we should report them. I was like, I'm not reporting this place, bro. Like, I don't want to take down this place. It's a mom and pop type of shop, but like, I feel like I should, so that way there's equal access to other people. And you don't pay attention to these things, but people legit had to die for these rights, for any rights. Whether it be civil, whether it be the right to vote for black and white women, whatever it is, people died for these things. So he brings up riots. And I remember during 2020 when all that shit was happening in Minnesota, Spence, because Minnesota doesn't live too far from it, or didn't at the time. And and he could see shit popping off. And I would be posting like, hey man, people gonna do what they're gonna do. And they're like, oh, my friends are like, oh, you're about violence and all that shit. I'm like, hey man, what are you gonna do? People got nothing. They got nothing. They told us their shit and they're going to burn it up. I mean, well, you're promoting violence. Hey, man, shut your privileged ass up. You don't get it because life has been so good. You don't get it. And all their rhetoric is based in racism. It's straight out just black hate. I don't even know what to say other than just black hate. So I'm going to spin this one way and then I'm going to come back to Dr. Dre. Earlier in the scene, Storm was in a coffin saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So we can put ourselves in that coffin where we can't breathe. And that's all the mental related issues, right? Then also other people oppress us too, like you talked about, the liberation psychology. The world will put us in that box and make us feel like shit and we can't breathe. And then a lot of us die in that coffin. Through capitalism, through the education system, which you and I work in, things will get taken from us and stripped from us. And we lose our identities and you become just this studious individual that you became. Then after your degree was done, you're like, oh shit, I can breathe. and I can read these things and have some fun and be nerdy and go experiment, right? The world takes things from you. And I tell my clients, the world's a miserable son of a bitch. It is actually quite horrific. And there will be mostly bad moments, but you will have to appreciate these really good moments, and you'll have to go make the good moments because they ain't just coming to you, honey. Doesn't matter what gender they are. I always use honey because my mentor always called me honey. Hey, come here, babe. It's a strong black woman.
Oh, it'd be great if it was a man, a straight man, just like, come here, honey. Like, oh,
Come here, honey.
okay,
Hey,
I guess.
you gonna be sugar daddy tonight?
It's an HR issue.
Nah, I'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
He
I'm
got
honey,
strong arms. He's
I'm
all
honey
right.
potting this shit. I don't think I used that term right.
I don't think you did.
I don't think I did either. It just sounds funny. But still, I wanted to wrap a few things into it to make folks understand. And I know we're talking about mutants, but remember, we're also talking about all of us that are listening to this now, which are neurodivergent, black and brown individuals, and a lot of women that are listening to the podcast. So most likely you fit into these categories. Even if you are the beast, you still fit into these categories. So it looks like we got one more scene left. But Doc, you got any sauce you want to add on that before we move to the last scene?
It's going to relate to the last scene. Actually, I'm going to tie it all together.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to synergize everything with this last scene.
Well, exercise a demon.
So last scene. So this is after Genosha was attacked, and Magneto is presumed dead, and so Rogue has been going on like a
rampage
spree. Rampage. Yeah. Even tried to beat the shit out of Captain America. Whatever.
Hey.
America's ass.
America's ass. Happy July 4th.
And so we're at this scene with Trask, and if you've ever seen Days of Futures Past, Peter Dinklage character who creates these Sentinels, these robots that are able to find out if you are a mutant and then pretty much kill you, put you in prison, whatever. And so Trask is having like this Oppenheimer moment. They even bring up Oppenheimer in there for the scene of just being like, what have I done? What have I created to cause this much destruction? And then, of course, Rogue is just like, fuck you talking about? Puts him over, puts him over the edge. It's just like, you're not going to do it, right? It's just like, no, I will. Drops him immediately, lets him go. And then everyone's shocked, of course, but Wolverine's just like, yeah.
You did it, girl.
You did what we all wanted you to do.
That's a strong woman.
That's a strong white woman. And
they exist.
They do. And so you wanted to talk about fight or flight in this scene. Obviously, I felt like that was more of a fight on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not running. No. Yes. And there were a lot of reactions after this scene. A lot of people, the fandom just posting and dialoguing online about,
There's a lot of conversation about
why did she kill? Now, another spoiler is that Trask ends up surviving, but becoming one of these super sentinel robot zombie beings.
Robot zombies. Jesus.
Yeah, it's wild, but it really, a lot of people had a reaction around her basically murdering this non-mutant. And then a lot of people reacted like, well, it was time. Like, again, I want to tie this to some of the other responses that some mutants have. We can't see all mutants in the same way, right? This is not a monolithic group in the same way that not all folks who are neurodivergent are the same. Not all folks with the same background or culture or ethnicity and race are the same, right? So we can't generalize about mutants. And this is one of the examples of how we see X-Men in particular having different trauma responses and different reactions. And so they're behaving in different ways. When we have talked about this on our show, the Arkham Sessions. I bring up both adaptive and maladaptive responses to trauma because, a lot of times it's survivorship. A lot of times it's these bad things in my environment happen. And look, I live in a world that doesn't want me to exist, right? So I'm just surviving. I'm just trying to navigate these threats and barriers and obstacles and not only stay alive, but be in time, like have joy, have times of happiness and fulfillment. So when we see different X-Men respond to traumas, sometimes it can be adaptive. And I think a lot of times when we work with clients, the fight or flight trauma response is traditionally done in a negative way, right? And I just talked about it earlier, like, well, we have a bad feeling, we flee from it, or typically with fight or flight, you might see avoidance. Certainly with flight, right? That's avoidance. With fight, what do we see? Acting out, aggression, harming others before they can harm us, right? We see a lot of that with youngsters, right? There are other responses that aren't really talked about, and that's freeze and fawn. So it's actually 4 Fs: fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
That's a lot of effing.
And that's a lot of Fs. And a lot of that's a lot of effing. A lot of times we're told that they're bad, but I do think sometimes we talk about how these responses can be adaptive, right? They can be protective. They can be about surviving situations. And let me just give an example. When we were talking about Beast and his interactions with non-mutants, he falls under fawn quite a bit.
Yep.
So when we think about fawning, this is pleasing other people, using their language, their technology, really kind of getting close to their culture so that they like us and that they don't harm us. So fawning is a little bit of self-erasure. It's a little bit of accommodating one's identity in order to be pleasing and well accepted by the majority culture.
Right.
Beast has had a lifetime of fawning because, again, he can't mask. He doesn't have the cure for his mutant identity. So I think he's been so adaptive, and he's like, I'm going to do all the things that you want me to do for you to like me. I will be soft-spoken. I will speak. I will, like you, I will, I'm so articulate. I'm so well-mannered. Like look at how human I can be despite this monster that you see in front of you or that you perceive me to be, right? And so I'm glad that we covered Beast and that scene because I think he's found that fawning has not worked in his favor when it comes to a social justice movement. Like there is a stopping point to that. How much now you want me to quiet down? So how much of me do I have to erase to get my liberation? Because I've done all the things. I've done the civil disobedience. I've done the education. I've gone to your schools. What else do you need from me? So he's reached his limit. Whereas Rogue is still in fight mode. And Rogue, as you notice, this didn't feel impulsive. This didn't feel, that rage got into her. This was a very decisive act.
Yeah.
And sometimes fight as a trauma response is revolution. Fight as a trauma response is taking action, is being pro-social, is being able to take control of your life. And so fight isn't always a negative trauma response. But I'll say dropping someone from a building is not, I do not condone that particular behavior.
Okay. So, we don't condone dropping no people. Murdering.
Hey, you could...
No, no stabbing. We don't ain't gonna know no stabbing. You can shoot, but you just don't. No, you probably shouldn't shoot either. No shooting.
Shoot him in the leg. Like Dave Chappelle did.
Self-defense. Okay, continue, Doc. Sorry.
That's all I got.
Oh, okay. Oh. Sorry.
Well, never mind. I mean, you could always Batman and just like, I know you won't die. Just
I mean, damn, yeah. I guess I wasn't following social media like that, right? I'm just watching as a fan, be like, oh, that's cool. And then next episode.
Wow, that's a great episode.
That's so good.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. I don't get into the fandoms or the internet when they're all talking about it. I'm like, oh, you are stupid. Just watch the show and shut up.
It'll make you rethink a lot of things.
I know.
It's not always good.
I know. Yeah.
It's good to stay away from that.
You know,
I watch the fandom stuff and I'm just
You
like,
do.
God, shut up.
Shut up. You know, I can't read. So,
Well,
yeah.
that's a whole other subject.
I know when
for
Dr.
another day.
Drea was using all them big words earlier, I was like, I'll take direct offense. Direct offense.
I can't spell that, but it's a good one.
Yeah, she used a
good
couple
one.
words. She used 2 big words back to back. I'm like, damn, that's that Cornell shit. Yeah. That's that Cornell shit.
I'm just trying to beast my way through life.
Oh my
Really.
God.
Where's your lab coat at?
For some reason, when you said beast my way through life, I just thought about the hot dog eating contest.
Oh my God.
When he's just mushing the water and the
Joey
and the-
Chestnut. Hey,
yeah, it was
you're
horrible.
never gonna keep him down.
I
You're
literally
never gonna
almost
keep him
threw up
down.
watching that shit on July 4th. I'm like, Mom.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God,
It
the
sounds
hot dog?
horrible.
Don't even look it up.
Please
Don't even do it.
watch one hot dog eating contest on July 4th. You will puke.
No. Oh, but look, there's one
yeah.
more F. You know how we said there's so
Oh.
many Fs? There's lots of Fs. There's one more.
I only got
There's
one.
one more F.
And it's
It's
not
not the
good.
one you're thinking.
It's not good.
No, it's not that one. It's there's
That one got it. That one got it.
there's one more. There's one more F. It's
What is
tend
that?
and it's tend and befriend. Now, where's the F in tend? It's the friend.
Friend.
Wait a
friend.
minute. Okay.
Tend and befriend. So one trauma response that people don't talk about enough is our ability to find consolation and compassion from our social interactions, whether it's somebody close to you or a family member or caregiver or whatever, that a lot of us, when we're in distress, our instinct is to find other people, usually other people like us, who
Yep.
get us, who
Yep.
who affirm us, who
Yep.
are just like, don't listen to that lady in Gelson's. You're much more than that. You're above that, right? So tend and befriend is one of the trauma responses that you actually see a lot of X-Men participate in.
Yep.
I say a lot of negative things about Professor X, but that's one thing he does well. His other shenanigans I can't, but he does try to get the X-Men together.
You hate Professor X.
She don't like
but-
Professor X. She don't like that
You don't.
he ain't got no hair.
He's a terrible therapist. He doesn't ask for consent. He probes people's minds. He puts them in these treatments.
Shit.
I have
That's what I do.
very little respect for his counseling ethics.
Yeah, and also
white man
he
knows
pretty
best.
much left all of his friends, friends and family. Like, these are my family. Bye. See you later. I'm going to outer space.
I'm
See
gonna
ya.
go date this hot ass alien chick. Hot ass alien goddess.
And
Oh,
I'm gonna
but she can
pretend to
make
be
him.
somebody
But she
different.
can make him walk.
I know he got the
True.
he got the
He
he
had
got
the
the
cure.
Forrest Gump legs.
Oh my God, the braces.
The braces.
He broke those braces when he started running.
He just kept on running.
Run, Forrest, run.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, she was a Jenny, wasn't she?
Oh
She kind of
my-
was. She kind of was a Jenny. Let's be honest.
Was she on drugs? Don't do
She
drugs,
might-
people. Don't
Alien
do
drugs?
Alien. What's alien drugs?
No, she was sober. She did it all sober.
Stardust.
Just worse. So much worse.
So much worse. Never trust
So
women.
much worse.
Never
She'd
trust.
be like, "Hey, I was on drugs that time." And like, she's just like, "I just did it sober. I just felt like doing it."
Yeah.
You know.
I liked you and I want you, Professor.
All right.
Oh, but there again,
Oh, but see, in and of itself, that there's the seduction of normality, right? I forgot the name of that character, but Jenny.
I did too.
We're just gonna call her Jenny.
Let's just call her Jenny.
She embodies the seduction of,
fawning.
you know,
She forces him to assimilate.
whatever he is dreaming of in terms of, you know, being normal, she's able to give that to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I think that really, you know, all of this, whatever X-Men we're into or that we affiliate with or relate to, I think the background of the storytelling is the seduction of normalcy, is the seduction of the cure, which comes up a lot in X-Men storytelling. Is like, if you could take that pill, would you do it?
Well, I take it. I ain't gonna lie. I'm joking. People.
I just want to be normal. I don't want to be normal.
One day, I just don't want to say the dumb shit I say anymore.
Can I be honest with you? It's never gonna happen. You're a mutant for life, homie. You're a mutant for life.
I got all
There's
that.
no pill. There's no pill that strong.
There's no pill that strong. Is that a fat joke?
No.
Oh, okay.
No Ozempic that can cure that.
Oh my God. Why are you gonna bring up Ozempic?
Hey, kept it classy. Kept it up to date.
Bro.
She gone. She gone. Dr. Dre's gone.
She did. Mm-hmm. That's another minority we ain't got to worry about.
Oh my God.
Yep. Mm-hmm. They build that wall.
There she is. All right.
All right. Wait a minute. I got to talk about these Fs real quick.
Okay.
So a lot of folk, no, serious.
Yes.
A lot of folks of color, since we really aren't taught emotional regulation, we tend to ebb into the fight pretty often. And a lot of us, as I talked about on the podcast, will get diagnosed with borderline personality disorder because our deregulation. And they're like, oh, your personality disorder. Nah, homie's never been taught to self-soothe. And violence is a currency. And so the biggest and the loudest survives and they live. And it's interesting because I want to do a small pivot. Because I will have clients of color specifically get into a situation and they will freeze. And they will hate themselves so much for freezing in that situation of violence that they will completely destroy their identity. And the lie they will tell themselves is that they are a punk, they are soft, they are worthless, they are weak, they deserve to get hurt. So now they start blaming themselves as the victim. And I remember working with a few clients, a few women, and that took a long time to build that back up because everything was centered around machismo. And then for her to freeze in this one moment was devastating. Not only the thing that happened, but then also the freezing, which was devastating. So that took a while to overcome. Those are the two that we talk about a lot. Obviously in therapy is freezing, fight, and then flight, running. You know, some folks do run when it comes to avoidance. So we're not talking about literal running. We're talking about avoidance. Do you run away from that thing? Do you not think about it? Do you hide from it? Do you cope with drugs or other alcohol? And then the fawning. So I did this. This is my, oh, my Lanta. Look at Bobby and his briefs. Oh, my God. So because some of us will fawn over wanting to be accepted in the whiteness or the aesthetics of what things bring, right? And so I wanted to make a joke for like me and Spencer and you, but you don't have to co-sign this at all. You will see people that will assimilate completely. And you know what they're doing and you see that they're trying to get their money, but they're completely like ass kissing, giving up all their morals, values, and ethics. They're throwing away their heritage and it's fine. So as she was talking about this, I was like, I'm gonna be real with you. Dr. Dre, you ain't gonna want to listen to this. But Beast, he'd be in the house. And Spence, you know what I'm talking about. So there's different types of people. He be what I'm not gonna finish the rest of that sentence. But he would be one of the house folk. Where the rest of us would be out there grinding, trying to live and survive. But since he can assimilate so much, I don't know if you agree with that, Spence. But when she was like talking about him, I'm like, you sound like you would.
I will say in the other films, it did come off like that. He's doing everything in his power to go back to being a normal, quote unquote, normal person.
Self-hating,
right? Very self-hating. Yeah. Yes. And he's like that. But at the same time, when you come and you're like that, like you can, I actually like to,
go ahead.
Make them similar to like, I like to make him similar a little bit more to like Frederick Douglass in a way, right? Like you come from, so Frederick Douglass, was a slave, very self-educated, pretty much he became like the highest you could be for being any type besides being like president of the United States, right? He was very educated, very smart man who fought for his rights and everything like that. some people would have probably classified him because he was going in that direction. He was, learning all these different things. He was being educated in all of these different things. But at the same time, he was also fighting for the rights while in his skin and while being a black man in America during a time where everybody
Lynched.
was lynched, racist, everything under the book, right? I see Beast in that same light.
It's more than
I
Frederick
don't
Douglass. Yeah.
Yes, I see him like he's just trying to do his best to try and get everybody to kind of come together, but also fighting for the rights of his own people.
Yep.
Right? For the people that look like him and for the people that don't look like him either, for
Yep.
those rights as well. And so I do get your point in what you're saying, like, hey, because he has to put on this mask for a lot, even though it's not a physical mask. He has to do it with his voice more now, right? And with his mind.
Voice and mind,
right?
intelligence, his actions, his job. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you get that same thing from Frederick Douglass, right? He had to educate himself. He had to become better than what they thought he was.
True.
And so sometimes you may see that as stepping over a line or stepping fetching, whatever it is. But in actuality, he's really he's trying to fight from the inside, even though a lot of the times, a lot of people think that that is a fight that isn't worth fighting for at all, because how are you going to do that?
Because the inside is broken, so you can't fix it from the inside. You have to tear it down.
Right.
And this is when you start reading the book, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which they force us to read in school as social workers, which is intense because a lot of the shit's in Portuguese. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Besides the point. Well made point, Spence. I just want to talk about the couple Fs. Because the fawning one was a new one. And then, Doc over here is talking about, what was it? Finding friends? What was it? It was Tinder for friends?
Tend and befriend.
Tinder and befriend. Makes sense.
Tend and befriend. So
Tend.
Say it with us. Tend and befriend.
Tend. I'm done. No, that was magnificent. So this is good. Look, we're gonna be only 10 minutes over. That ain't that bad.
No,
we did it.
That ain't that bad. You can go home. You got more work to do. You going to sleep?
Oh yeah, I need to do a little bit of work, but we got 2 weeks until Comic-Con, and even though it's just a few hours drive, it's in San Diego. Now we need to promote and make our digital assets and get our everything in line. So it's going to be a busy next couple of weeks, but yeah, tonight I won't be too busy. This was really lovely. Thank you for having me on the show.
Good luck. Tell me how
I've never laughed. I literally have never laughed this much as a guest on any podcast. And I've been guesting on podcasts for over 10 years. So
just fawn all over me, girl. You can fawn all over me.
My lady.
my lady. How'd it do?
That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah.
Was it good for you?
Oh my God.
It was a lot of fun.
Where's my blood pressure medicine? Jesus Christ.
I almost passed out.
I know. Jesus.
Dr. Drea, please, do you have any plugs?
Promote.
And please, you can promote the Comic-Con convention, whatever.
Your podcast, whatever you're doing.
Well, look, if folks listen to this podcast, you're definitely going to like my podcast, which is called the Arkham Sessions. It's called the Arkham Sessions because we started about 10 years ago, actually, when we started the podcast.
Okay.
It was very Batman centric. So it was all about the psychology of Batman.
There you go.
And then since then, we've moved into other IPs like Marvel and Star Wars and now X-Men, the animated series. So we've covered quite a lot. We talk about mental health and healing. We talk about counseling. We talk about topics like this, actually, trauma responses and how we can see our stories on screen and why it's so important to embrace whatever quirkiness we have about ourselves as it relates to fandoms and loving science fiction, comic books, graphic novels, fantasy, adventure, you name it. we welcome everyone as far as fandoms go. And it's called the Arkham Sessions. Find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. I've been told that it's also a good sleep remedy if you're trying to fall asleep and you have insomnia. Apparently, the podcast helps with that. My website is drdreapsychology.com.
Okay.
There you can find the podcast, some of the articles I've written. I'm about to publish another article quite soon. It's about the Sandman Netflix series. So that's coming out soon.
Nice.
And then Comic-Con. So we'll be at Comic-Con this July. The schedule just dropped tonight, so I'm allowed to say that our panel is all about X-Men 97. It's called Examining the X-Men, the Psychology of X-Men 97.
Alliteration.
And, that's how we got to get butts in seats. So that's the trick.
I love butts. I don't know about seats.
Examining the X-Men, which is on Saturday, July 27th at 7 p.m. at Comic-Con in San Diego. We have as our featured guest, or guests rather, Allison Seeley-Smith, the voice of Storm, who we just talked about on this episode today. Lenore Zahn, who is the voice of Rogue, who we also talked about today.
Okay.
And a couple of writers, J.B. Ballard, Jake Castorena, who is the one of the producers on the show, and then of course the Arkham Sessions. So myself and my co-host Brian Ward. So fully packed panel. We will have it available on our podcast for folks who can't be at Comic-Con to see us live.
Awesome.
Remember, everyone, all those details, website, promotions will be linked in this YouTube video and on the podcast. And of course, it will also be linked in every single Instagram post and reel that we do. So remember, folks, her content will be easy to find and readily available.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Drea. Honestly, it was a great show and we would love to have you back at some point. Yes.
If you don't get fired, if you get fired, then we don't want you.
I've said worse. I've said worse things on my own show, and so far,
look at you.
Why are you holding back?
Wait.
Why are you holding back?
I haven't said worse than what Dr. Nas has said.
Nobody has.
Oh, true. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
just clarifying.
And I haven't said anything worse than what my father, a 9-year convict, has done. So I mean,
look at that. It's all tears.
It all goes back to my dad, doesn't it?
It's my father.
This has been very fun, also very therapeutic.
Thank you.
So thank you for letting me talk about my journey and my story.
Yeah.
And happy to hop on again. I mean, there's so many different shows that we could talk about. I'm very, very glad that you have this show because I think it's helping a lot of people feel affirmed and validated, and it's really special to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone, Dr. Drea, Letamendi, please go check out all of her stuff. Like we said, that's going to be linked below in the descriptions. All right. And with that, I'm Spencer. That's Nas.
All right. My bad. All right, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Damn, I fucked it up. Much love.
Do it again.
All right, everyone. Much love and take care of yourselves.
Or don't.
That's completely up to you. Peace.
That's how it ends?
Yeah, that's how it ends.
Yeah.